Hey, look, you put the camera on me. I want to say Chris looks like Tommy Lee Davidson. A tall Tommy Lee Davidson.
Man, I want to start with these guys. I mean, we all have a connection, you know, to this city, to each other in some kind of way. At least for me, it's funny being in this scenario now after, you know, moving on to Miami from this town and then coming back in a different capacity, but seeing how everybody has been successful in their own ways. That's what I'm most interested in. And just from you guys, I mean, where was the start?
Well, I mean, you know, the start for me, you know, I'm gonna get to the point where I am today and sit here with y'all being in this town. But obviously my start comes from a small city in Ohio, you know, and everywhere I go, I talk about being from Akron and trying to give inspiration to kids and the youth and people of that nature. And then when you're able to become successful, you meet people in life that kind of help motivate you and inspire you. And you never know why people are put into your life until you actually get around them. And it puts me in this position today where I'm sitting with two of the greatest guys that I've ever encountered with, spend time with, done things obviously that people know about and some things that people don't know about, but how we just collectively inspired each other. And then you sit back and you just say, I'm truly blessed. And you know, you at this table right now.
I'd just like to say, just based off your attire, you're like the Lawrence Fishburne interviewing. I'm just gonna preface with that, and then I'm just gonna go into, you know, for me, like, well, I mean, how we all got here was like, when you were here, we were all just kind of admiring the fact that you were incredible at your craft and what you brought to the city. You know, you brought that sort of that franchise feel to our city, and I always had a great admiration for you. And then, you know, to meet you, you're an incredible person. I mean, that's kind of our story. I unfortunately didn't really get involved as much in the Raptors or basketball element when we first met. I wish I was. And then with Bron, I think for me it was kind of just the like ascending at similar times. And I think one of the most pivotal moments for me in my career was when you showed up to the So Far Gone party in Toronto. That prominent marriage between like sports and entertainment,
right.
It was really big for us. And then from there, I mean, not to be like overly sentimental, but you know, you've obviously just been, we're brothers and we're friends, but you're one of the biggest inspirations, period, in life. I think for anybody that like is into like dominating and just being overwhelmingly incredible at what they do. So, I mean, that's kind of how we're all here, I guess. Is that good enough?
It's pretty good.
All right.
You sold it pretty good, bro.
Okay, all right.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll just talk with my first experience with you guys. Brian, we played each other. We ran into each other like 3 times over the course of a summer in 2001.
2001.
Yeah, 2001. And the first one was in AB City Camp. And I didn't know who you were, but I knew your name. And you just start killing some guy from Ohio. And he was like, I'm gonna check that guy. He was super adamant about guarding you. And I just remember, yeah, sure, whatever. By the end of the game, I'm asking, who is this guy? And somebody said, oh, that's LeBron James. And, you know, it kind of started off from there. We played AAU against each other a couple times. And I mean, right off the bat, you kind of know the face that you're gonna see for a long time. And for me, I was just trying to aspire to be like we all were,
right,
and attaining that top level. And then, I mean, it's crazy how kind of things come around, and you know, being able to play with you, being in the same draft class, and you know, having you as one of those guys to push me every day. Because when I was here, kind of like what Drake was alluding to, that was like one of my inner passions, was to, you know, be the level that you were at, you know, because as a player, I wanted that as well, and I felt that I should be in that conversation.
Yeah.
That's what drove me. And you know, Drake is funny, bro. I mean, like you say, in the city at that time, I mean, it just was kind of, hanging out, and everybody was just around, you know, and it didn't feel special, or it didn't. I mean, we were just happy to be hanging out. I know I was. I mean, for me, it was just nice to be able to do other things, to go to parties, to hear records, or to hear people doing their thing, to get away from basketball, you know. And at the time, yeah, it seemed so unattainable, especially for a Canadian artist. Not that you're a Canadian artist, you know.
No, 100%.
But, you know, it kind of was a negative connotation at the time,
Yeah,
you know, and it's kind of a thing that puts you in a box, and it's so crazy just to see you do so many great things. Do you remember how, you know, each step that you made on the way, or is it kind of just some blur that you just blink and then you're here?
It's been a journey, you know, and it's been incredible to do it this way. I guess the further we get, the more you forget the early stages. Even when you talk about just being like, you were not from here, but you were a Canadian basketball player, right?
Yeah.
You know, so it's tough to feel big. It's tough to feel. There was a time where it was really tough to feel like we could ever transcend that, so like that actual literal border. It was tough to get over that border. Now I think we've developed like a whole new monster over the years. I think we probably have some of the most passionate, prideful fans. You know, we have a city that is so proud, and we have like a bunch of people that are, you know, beyond diehard for not only basketball, but just for like everything that the city stands for.
For sure, Toronto is one of the only place that no matter where I go in the world, I meet somebody from Toronto.
Yeah.
Everywhere I go.
And they'll always tell you that they're from there, and they'll always draw the parallel, like, oh, I'm from Toronto, and they'll look at you like, recognize me, because we share that bond in life. So I think as a city, we've all been on that journey for a long time, and I think maybe in the last, I mean, obviously, I think it started with Vince. I think it graduated to you, and then I think now we've gotten to a place where we've even created stars, you know, guys that have been on the team that maybe have gone to other teams after and wouldn't be stars, but they were stars here, or they felt like stars here. I think that now we've gotten to a point where if we were to ever get at this stage in basketball, that thing, you know, that thing, you know what I'm saying? If we were to ever get that guy, if you ever had a, you know, but honestly though, not joking around, but if you ever had a LeBron that came here and played, I think you would see something that you've never seen before. You know,
Yeah.
The city is so appreciative of the efforts put forth. So it is a special place in that regard. I think that people come here, and you definitely, you know, I know it's the winter and the taxes and all that stuff, but I think the love you gotta feel.
Sure. And that's one of the things I definitely felt. And it's funny because seeing me, you know, being able to play with a guy like Vince Carter, because that's what we're here for. What did Vince Carter mean to you as a basketball player? Because I know, like, for me, you know, Vince Sanity, half man, half amazing. We can keep going all day. But, like, what was it about Vince Carter that kind of, you know, inspired you as a basketball player?
So, I mean, I've been watching Vince since he was in high school, you know, even as a young kid, and, you know, watched him in the McDonald's game. Obviously, I followed him. I mean, I wanted to go to North Carolina at the time, so him going to Carolina, it was like, okay, you know, watching Ed Cota throwing the lobs to him with him and Antoine Jamison and all those guys on that team. So when you're watching Vince, you are understanding this guy is bigger than North Carolina. He's the guy in a college game that gets about 12 to 14 points, but he has no business out here on this court.
Yeah, for sure.
He's out here just straight up, he's just straight for the conditioning. And when he gets to the next level, whoever gets him is gonna be special. So, you know, for me, and for all of us, it's something about basketball when a guy can literally when you really look at him and you think he's flying. You're like, what the fuck? How did he just do that? And Vince was that guy. Vince was that guy where you like, if he get one dribble inside that three-point line, you better move.
Even in college, right?
Even in college. You better move or you're gonna be on the poster. And for a kid like myself who started to find his way with some athleticism, you looked at Vince like, damn, I ain't gonna be able to get to that point, but if I can get half or 3/4 of it, you know, then I'm doing something right. So, and I didn't even know the passion of Canada or Toronto at the time. I had no idea. I just knew that what he was doing was something that the game really, we seen Mike fly, we seen Doc fly, and Dominique, we seen him, you know, fly, we seen Clyde Drexler fly. But Vince took it to another level when you talk about flying.
Yeah.
We hadn't seen nothing like that.
For sure, and like, I mean, you know, I guess for you, Drake, being able to see a guy like that flying and being able to inspire a whole generation, how did that feel being a kid in the city, you know, trying to inspire what you're trying to inspire, but being able to see a guy with Toronto across his chest mean this for basketball?
For me, I mean, I didn't play ball, so, you know, to hear Bron talk about sort of the technicalities of it is amazing, you know, like to hear the actual admiration for the craft. I mean, we all watched greatness, right? So it's, you know, when you get to witness that, it's pretty evident. But for me, it was different, man. For me, it was a time, you know, it was a time marker. Because when Vince was popping in the city, we had nightclubs that seemed larger than life. We had celebrities coming to our city and performing that would have never been here before. We had rappers and people from here that were acting like we were in New York. You know, people were driving different cars and starting businesses, and, you know, he created a culture for us that we had only seen on television. So
what about that made you guys feel that way? You know what I'm saying?
Just because we had somebody and people were gravitating to us, you know? So everybody was like, oh, you're paying attention to that? Well, look, I got, you know, everybody kind of got like charged off his energy, off his excitement, and he wouldn't shy away from it. That was the other thing. Vince wasn't like one of these guys that's like, oh yeah, I'm out here, but I'm gonna just go straight home and you won't, I mean, he was like, yo, I want you to see me. I'm gonna open a club in the city. You know, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna be in, you know, he was in music videos, like, I think I rapped about it, but like, you know, Vince did like a cameo in like Cardinal, Glenn Lewis videos, like that to me was crazy because those were guys that just, I didn't know if they could go that far at that time. I don't think any of us thought we could go that far at that time. And the next thing you know, we got Jay-Z performing in like a parking lot for Rock the Caravana, which like we had never heard of in our life, but they just created an event around our city because we just had excitement. We finally had something, you know, and that's kind of what I talk about or that's kind of what I mean when I say like, you know, when you give this city something, they're gonna make it into everything.
For sure.
You know? For
sure. That's, you know, it's funny you say that, man. It's like one of the main things that for me as an athlete, Toronto made me feel welcome, feel special, you know, because I would definitely notice a difference. I'm here, people will recognize me, show love and everything. You go to the States, it's a little different, you know, and it was always one of those strange things where my family and friends would come in town and they'd be blown away just by how many people would show up at an appearance or at a game or just sign up, you know, line up for autographs and stuff like that. And it made me, it's kind of a weird thing. I mean, you know, one of my friends jokes called me Michael Jackson and stuff, so I could only imagine for you,
well,
you know,
you look like Blade right now.
You know what, I like where this is going. I was ready for this. I was hoping this would happen.
You remember when Eddie Murphy used to do the vampire movie? You look like Vampire in Brooklyn right now.
You don't like my?
No, I love it.
What is it?
Which
part is it?
It's the double beads. With
Double beads? That's what I'm going for, though.
With the knee length.
Yeah, I'm going for the, we taking blood. I love it. I'm trying to put out there. Is it working?
It's working.
Awesome.
Yeah, you're a legend.
Yeah.
Big time.
And I like the, the one chain, small medallion.
Set up.
Very Marvin Gaye.
Yeah, thank you.
Turtleneck.
Thank you.
Super dope.
Yeah. Thank you.
Brian got.
Why do I get thrown in this? I'm over here quiet.
Brian got 3 crests.
Why do I get thrown in this?
What does each one mean? I mean,
I don't. Toronto,
couldn't just
Ontario,
be one in the center. It couldn't be
Canada.
one big one. It couldn't
The 3 crests is the Carter effect. Yeah.
Perfect segue.
Yeah.
So we're doing, you guys are doing this film about this moment in time, about this guy. How is it to be able to, one, have the means and have the vision to creatively put together something like what we're about to see? Because for one, I mean, me as an athlete and as a black man, to let's be honest, Toronto International Film Festival doesn't have a lot of color in it. And if it does, it's probably something that doesn't fit this genre. How does it feel to be able to give back in this kind of way and be creative at the same time?
We give all the credit to Vince, first of all, because he is the guy who, at the end of the day, is responsible for this film even coming together. I mean, without his passion for the game, without what he was able to accomplish both on the court, but also to be an inspire all the people that was here in Toronto at the time, the film wouldn't be able to even be possible. But to go to the surface of it, for myself and for Drake, we have creative minds. And yes, we know what our moneymaker is and we know what we do, but our minds are beyond what we do, and we are blessed to have outlets and people that allow our minds to be able to create opportunities like this and to be able to bring it to the people. So I think that's what ultimately it comes down to. And to give you another Vince story one more time before I give the mic, no pun intended, to Drake, Vince had kids actually believing that they can jump if they put on a pair of Nike Shox.
Very true. Did I have a pair? You had a pair?
I absolutely
You had the white and green.
I had white.
No,
had
everybody
white
didn't
green.
have a pair.
Everybody had a pair.
I didn't have a pair till I got drafted.
I had a pair.
Listen, Vince really had you believing that the shock technology in those shoes will make you jump
100%.
like that.
No, 100%.
It's not a lot of, you got MJ Air.
Yeah.
To make you believe Air.
Yeah.
You got Vince with shock. You got cross trainer with Bo. You got a little something with me, but this ain't about me. We double air over here. 360 airbag plug,
We
soft
do
plug.
the 3 straps.
Yeah,
It's just like,
we in here. But he
Getting
really
more
had you
aggressive.
believing. He really had you believing that, man.
Yeah.
He really had you believing that.
What was
Nah.
your first pair, though? What was your first pair?
Mine was the
The black, the
black
black
and the silver
with the
joints?
Raptor color.
Raptors color.
The shock was
I didn't
in,
get them till the 2s.
the shock was
white
in
and red.
silver.
What were they in your locker when you got drafted?
Yeah.
Look.
I got you. What do you want, Chris? The first thing I want. Anything I can want, I want the right and wear.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what's so funny? I remember it was all that, and then there was another shoe at the time. Like they were trying to sell. This was like before people really had capability to research stuff.
Don't tell me the shrimp shoes.
You remember they used to sell the shoes that you used to be able to dunk better in?
the shrimp shoes. All white, orthopedic looking shits.
With the
But they said, and Vince was like, I'm gonna strip these down. I'm just gonna give you,
Yeah.
just literally, I'm gonna give you 2 pieces of plastic on each side. Dunk like me.
Straight up.
Yeah.